Can I make some money? Biz rigging.
You think it's a game? You think it's a fucking game? Y'all gon' make me lose my mind. Hey, yo, what's my name? Y'all gon' make me go all out. DMX. Y'all gon' make me act a fool. Hey, yo, what's my name? Y'all gon' make me lose my cool.
I tried so hard.
What you really want? What you really want?
But it doesn't even matter. Come on, try so hard.
What you really want?
It doesn't even matter. But it doesn't even matter. Come on, try.
Boy, give me a sign. Dog, I meet bitches, cause street bitches, slash, Cocoa Puff, sweet bitches, say you wanna eat bitches, but not me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of the Titanium Vault. I'm your host, RJ Bates. Today, I'm with Mr. Hustle. What's going on, Mike?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm excited. What are we, 9 days away from Wholesaling
9
Live?
days, somewhere around there. One, I do want to say, first off, I definitely appreciate your time and having me on your podcast, good sir.
Yes, absolutely, man. It's a long time coming. We talked about this last week. We said, hey, let's make it a special episode. Let's make it live, where we can answer questions. We want to talk about Wholesaling Live. This is the second iteration of Wholesaling Live, and I've said it before. I'll keep saying it. The first one was the best real estate investing event I've ever been to, hands down. Some of the images you just saw in that opening video is from the first one. This was no BS. There was over 500 people in the building, front to back. It was standing room only. And we were all doing deals. That's what I love about it. So I got to ask you just to get started.
Yeah.
Where did the idea for Wholesaling Live come from?
So it sounds like a generic question, man, but it's actually a really good question, right? So myself, yourself, Bates, we've been to a lot of events. We've been to a lot of stages. I spoke at events. You spoke at events. We spoke at multiple events together. And we wanted to do our first event, right? We wanted to do our first event. Now, Charles and I, we've been partners for 10 years, 11 years. And we're known for wholesaling, right? And we're pretty big in the wholesaling world. But, man, we thought about this event. Like, what can we do different, right? What can we do that's going to stand out? Different is for sure. Second, who's the focus? The focus is the attendees. And third, it can't be the same as everything else. Now, a bunch of different events, cool. I love all the events. I appreciate everyone in the community. A lot of the events that we go to, the speaker goes on stage, says, hey, when I was little, I was poor, it was a tough life. And, I heard about wholesaling. Now look at me now, and then buy a course.
Yep.
If we're going to be real about it, it's a lot of those. So we said, hey, we'll do an event. I will bring the speakers. And we told all the speakers up front, hey, nobody cares about you, man. Nobody cares about your story. Nobody cares about your life. Nobody cares about when you're a kid. They want to know how to do value, how to do real estate wholesaling. So that was the first idea, right? Different. No stories, no chit-chat, unless it's a keynote speaker or something.
Right.
All right. That was that. 2, how does someone take action? You go to an event, you take notes, and when you go home, the notes go on, the desk or maybe a drawer and say, I'll get to it next week. So the thought process was, hey, let's have people do it right then and there so we make sure they know how to do it. But it's a tough part. It's a tough process. If you think about it, if you guys really, really think about the back end, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, from logistics to leads to skip tracing, from leads were coming in live, from 500 people cold calling on at once, internet, data. If someone had needed help, all they had to do was raise their hand. You get someone like Mr. RJ Bates will go up to them personally, help them with the phone call, get the contract right then and there, run comps. It's a huge operation. So we started off small at our RIA meetings, right? So if you guys don't know what a RIA is, it's a Real Estate Investors Association meeting. So we have one here in San Antonio. We tried it off small and then got bigger. I was like, all right, we're ready. We got all the key factors. We worked all the kinks, and that's how it kind of came about, man. A first event where not only we're going to show you step by step how to wholesale, and then we're going to make you do it live, and hence the name Wholesaling Live.
I love it. One of the things that I loved about the event is very early on in day one, y'all passed out a ton of skip trace data to everybody in attendance. And you essentially said, pick up the phone, start calling people. And the best part about it is there was probably about 20% of the crowd that kind of just sat there. But there were so many of us that were walking around that were like, yo, what are you doing? You've got 150 Skip Trace phone numbers right there. Start picking up the phone. It forced people to take action, even though they want the change, but they didn't feel ready. And it's like, you're never going to be ready. It's kind of like, when's the right time to have kids? Right. You're never going to be ready to have kids, man. Just pull the trigger. Like, you're never going to be prepared for this. So I love that part of it. So let's talk about what are they actually going to be doing? Because you talked about Skip Trace data. You talked about some inbound leads. So what does that look like? If you're an attendee in the crowd, what are you going to be expecting as far as the actions that you're going to be taking?
Well, let me comment on what you just said. People making that phone calls, right? A lot of people do not like to be in an uncomfortable situation. A lot of people say, hey, man, I don't want to sound dumb to the person next to me or to the right of me. But what we did, and I don't know if you noticed this. I don't know if anyone, big people like yourself, right? Let's just call it as we will. Someone who's established in the game, yourself, RJ Bates, Cassie, you guys weren't aware of this because you guys were ready to make the phone calls. If you guys weren't aware of this, this is what we did last year. We actually had security go to the doors, close the doors and shut them and stand at the doors, because once we said, hey, we're going to start making some cold calls, that's when the fight or flight kind of comes in. Hey, I got to go to the restroom real quick.
Right.
We're going to make a phone call real quick outside. No, we actually, the security actually said, hey, go back to the seat. Doors are closed for now. Make that phone call. So we actually did that last year.
That's amazing.
People didn't catch that. But the first 2-3 minutes, that was their awkward silence, right? Nobody wants to be the first one. So we had a confident individual kind of get on the phone. He made the first phone call, and then someone else made the second phone call. And then the person in the audience who hasn't cold called before, hey, well, that dude just got cussed out. If he can get cussed out, I can get cussed out. So after about 5 minutes, that's when you heard the whole roar of, all right, well, let's just screw it. I'm in. And once they start making that first phone call, they're a lot more at ease. So that was the cool part last year.
Absolutely. So go back to it cold calling? Is it inbound leads? What are we going to be experiencing in 9 days?
So we thought about, how do we make this the best wholesaling event? How do we really teach wholesaling, right? So the idea, kind of similar we did last year, but this year, bigger, better, bolder, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. We're going to get the top industry professionals of each category of wholesaling to do this deal, right? So first off, Mr. RJ Bates, King Closer, also won the championship last year. It's no surprise to anybody, right? Obviously, we all know who you are, good sir. You're going to start off with talking about wholesaling, right? We're going to have Eric Klein, who's also big in the wholesaling industry. We're going to talk about what exactly is wholesaling for a lot of people who are attending. So a lot of people attend because someone's bringing a friend for whatever reason. Hey, come with me to San Antonio. I don't want to go by myself. So a lot of people are kind of understanding, hey, what exactly is wholesaling? So of course we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about, hey, to get started, we're going to cold call, right? And when I cold call, who do I call? So we're going to have Mr. Burton with PropStream talk about data. What's the best type of list to pull? Who exactly we're calling? And then we're going to skip trace that list. Skip tracing meaning, hey, this is the company who HBHS uses. It worked for us, obviously, because we've done 1,000+ wholesale deals. So we're going to talk about skip tracing, the importance of skip tracing. And then who better than to have Mr. RJ Bates say, all right, audience, check this out. This is how I do it. I'm successful. King Closer. Obviously, we all know who you are, Mr. Bates. Mr. Bates is going to go to the crowd and say, hey, this is how I do it. A few phone calls, tips and tricks on how to talk to sellers. And then we're going to start passing out leads. Here's the crazy part about leads, all right? There's 3 tiers. There's general mission, there's VIP, and there's elites. You kind of pay what you get for, right? So the elite individuals, they will be calling PPC leads. A PPC is saying, hey, my name is Mike. I own this house. I want an offer. That's who elite people are calling. We're also partnered up with Lead Zolo. Lead Zolo will be active in campaigning. So as leads come in through Lead Zolo, we will be handing them out to each elite individual. The VIPs are going to call vetted leads, warm leads, if you will, saying, hey, I call a VA company, and we're talking about that VA company. Cold called a huge list. So we got rid of all the FUs. Stop calling me. Hey, don't waste my time. Get a real job. All the names. We're going to vet all that. Anyone who's slightly interested in an offer or anyone slightly interest, we're gonna put that to the side. And when it comes time for Wholesale Live, that's who VIPs are gonna call. And then the general mission, we're gonna pull a list for the general mission. It will be a Texas list, and we're gonna start cold calling, man. The best way is just to get straight into it, man. So that's the idea of it, right? So now we're gonna have a panel, right, to talk about different styles and techniques, because your style, Mr. Bates, fits you perfectly. It works perfectly, but it may not work for me, right? You know, your persona, your character abilities may not be for someone who's kind of timid, quiet in a corner. So we're gonna hear different types of panels, and then we're gonna have a closers challenge. You know, and I know you're excited for that.
Oh yeah.
The purpose of the closer challenge last year was, hey, one, let's see who's the best, right? Which you guys didn't know, RJ won last year. But it's to see who's the best. It's also to say, hey, I want to hear different tips and techniques from different individuals so I can see how they sound, right? So whoever's in the audience, you're going to hear people like RJ Bates. You're going to hear people like Eric Klein. Let's see, I think Seamus is supposed to be on there. I think he is going through some issues. So shout out to my boy Seamus. But we're going to have Monif, right? So everyone knows who Monif is, especially in the Sub-2 community. Max Jimenez, Soad, and then Naaman Taylor, right? So crazy part is at the Closers Olympics, I know the scores were kind of close. Of course, you won, giving you the credit as it due. But we're going to see it live, right? It's different when you're on camera, right? All right, let me show you guys how I'm cold calling. Versus, all right, hey guys, we have a full audience. We got about 1,000 eyeballs on you guys. Go ahead and make that cold call live. So the audience members, that was the idea for us. Hey, let's give someone credit where credit's due, give them a shot. But at the same time, I want to sit back and actually want to hear Monif and how he does his deal. I want to hear Naaman. I want to hear RJ Bates. You know, I want to hear Max Jimenez. I want to hear Suad. I like that piece. I like how RJ did that. I like how Monif did that. And let me make my own style, and then let me try cold call, taking the bits and pieces. So that's why we did that challenge. 2 for 1, right? Value, and of course, to get you that recognition that you deserve, Mr. Bates.
And the thing about the live competitions, you know, I've had some people say they don't like the competitions. It's not real, but it is.
Oh, it's real.
In real life, we are in a competition. I thought about this yesterday, and I'll share it here. My office sits on a lake. And so when I just kind of need to decompress for a second, I go out on the balcony and I just stare at the lake. And yesterday, while I was standing out on the balcony, I noticed a turtle, a fish, like multiple fish come out from underneath the surface and kind of roll on top.
Uh-huh.
When you're staring at the lake, it looks like it's just empty water. What you don't realize is there's a ton of animals underneath there. There's a whole world going on. And you don't see it until it comes to the surface. It's the same thing in wholesaling. When you're just sitting in your office, you think you're the only person that's reaching out to the seller. You think you're the only person that has this inbound PPC lead. But in reality, there's hundreds, if not thousands of other people trying to reach that exact same lead to get the exact same property under contract for the same price that you are. And that's what I love about the competitions, is it shows the moment of truth. What do we say in those moments to get the signed contracts? Yeah. And the thing that I loved about Wholesaling Live was every single one of us that competed last year got a property under contract.
For sure. That's great. Yeah. Everyone that was in the audience all got a contract. So people ask, hey, man, what kind of leads did they get? Now, the leads they got, and RJ, I'm going to use it as a perfect example. There was no different leads than the list that was in the audience, right? We provide all the leads to the audience. If you guys don't remember last year, if you guys weren't there last year, and if you guys are just tuning in, RJ literally went to the audience members and said, hey, give me your list because I finished calling mine. He just grabbed a random person from the audience, started cold calling, and that's when you got that big New York deal. Yep. There was no special list. The people up front, they didn't get no special list, no special treatment. It was a random list like just everyone and a regular audience member would get. So it's a cool thing to see. And the way you put in that analogy, I mean, this world is so big, right? This world's so big. Texas alone is so big. I mean, we get so many deals here at the office. I mean, you guys are in Texas, and there's a lot of big people in Texas. It's not dying. For those who are saying, hey, wholesale is a dying sport, it's not dying, man. Cold calling is not dying. Wholesale is not dying. You just need to know the right tools, tips, and tricks to make it happen.
Dude, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I posted a video where I called a seller during one of my lives, and she goes, "Do you know Eric Brewer?" And I said, "I do know Eric Brewer." And she goes, "I just talked to Eric Brewer's team just 5 minutes ago. Are you with them?" I said, "No, ma'am." And she's like, "Oh, well, how can I help you?" And I said, "Well, you filled out a form on my website. You want to sell my house or sell your house to me."
Right.
But what are the chances that Eric Brewer, and this was a Florida lead. I'm in Texas. He's in Pennsylvania, a house in Florida. She filled out both of our websites forms. I mean, it's a constant battle. And that's what I love about Wholesaling Live is that it shows the action that's needed to take. So we got a question here from Christopher Gomez. He says, for someone who's never been to the event, what do we need to take and how can we prepare to make the most of Wholesaling Live Sub 2.0?
The question is, what do we need to take and how can we prepare to make the most of the event? Ideally, it's going to sound cliche. Just bring an open mind, right? Open mind and a paper. We're going to have everything provided for you guys. We're going to have the leads provided to you, the scripts provided, the contracts provided, the documents provided, the dispo provided with the InvestLift. Shout out to InvestLift as the grand sponsor. Everything will be provided. All I need is hustle and action. That's really all you need. From last year, we got people at the event, and those guys were a lot of first timers. There was a people at the event last year that actually made their first phone call and actually jumped up and down and excited because they actually got a contract. So there's no special magic. There's no special formula. You don't need some special key. You don't need to read no special book. Just show up, take action, provide the hustle, and we'll provide the rest.
That would be my advice. Open-minded, taking the action, right? And here's my thing is like, Christopher, I'm going to get up there and I got 30 minutes to talk about how I talk to sellers. My thing would be whatever I say during those 30 minutes, once they hand you that piece of paper, try it out.
Yeah.
Try out what I say to do and see if it works. It's like, it's a freebie right there, baby. Yeah. Like, here we go. Let's see if what RJ says works.
The hard part is, let's not see if it works. The hard part is, it does work, right? Yeah. Look at RJ. Look at the success he had. Look at how RJ's so strong as a cold caller. It's not to see if it works. It works. You just need to take that action, right? We're going to provide the list, the data, the leads, the skip trace, the documents, the scripts, in case of people kind of want like, hey, I can't flow like RJ. I can't talk on top of my head and say, hey, this is what I got to. I need a script. All right, cool. We'll provide you the script. We'll provide you bullet points. We're going to have all different types of individuals on stage to pull what you need. And then the hard part is, hey, I'm scared because if I make that phone call and the seller says, hey, I'm interested, I don't know what to do next. This is easy what to do next.
Yep.
All you have to do next, especially if you're in the audience, all you have to do is raise your hand. And I'm going to get someone like RJ Bates, Tony Mont, Valerie Galvan, all these individuals who are closing deals, right, to include our sponsors like David Oates, Max Jimenez, Cash Money Mike, Naaman Taylor, Seamus, Aaron Bevins. Everyone's going to be there to help you. These guys that we chose to be at this event to help support the community. That's the cool thing about this community too, is we actually support each other. To actually help support the community are actually going to go up and down the aisles to assist you in whatever you need. Now, the people going up and down the aisles are vetted individuals that are actually closing deals at wholesaling and doing well in their business. That's how easy it is. Just come to the event. Let me show you how it's done.
Absolutely. So Kevin, shout out to Kevin, Titanium student. He says, what is the difference from Wholesaling Live to 2.0, and what do we have to look forward to in the future with Wholesaling Live?
Okay, so last year was Wholesaling Live, our first one. This year's our second one, so we did a little play on words. Wholesaling Live Sub 2.0, right? So second one, but of course the word Sub 2 is in there. If you guys aren't aware, Sub 2 is my favorite thing. Now, we do a lot here at HBHS. We wholesale, we flip, we Sub 2, owner financing, Airbnbs, multifamilies, apartments, land, commercial. And if you know me personally, and we got the restaurant, the nightclub deal, car wash. I don't know if you know about a car wash. So it's a lot that goes on. But everything I do, Sub 2s will always be my favorite, right? Now, when it comes to Sub 2s, I built my portfolio majority on Sub 2s starting 8-9 years ago. We actually did our first Sub 2 deal 8 years ago, and we just took it and we launched with it. So it's awesome, right? This year, I want to talk about Sub 2s, We're actually have leads in the audience that if they were to sell, it will be a sub 2 lead, right? What type of data are we pulling, right? How do we do, if you guys don't know, Charles and I, we facilitated over 400 sub 2s. We currently own over 100 sub 2s. How do we find our deals? How do we cold call? What are we looking for? So I'm going to talk about sub 2s because I want you guys to start building a portfolio. Now, my goal is for someone at this house to get a sub 2 contract at Wholesaling Live and say, hey, I got my first house as a Wholesaling Live sub 2.0. That's the first thing. The second thing, bigger, better, bolder, right? Last year we did at the place called the Norris. And like RJ said, it was standing room only. We actually had the fire marshal show up, behind the scenes kind of stuff. The fire marshal showed up and said, hey, man, the count's too high. So we had to take some chairs out because technically we're supposed to be there. So it was a good event, right? It was a good problem to have. This year, I want you to enjoy my city of San Antonio. So we're doing it at the Marriott River Center. And you guys know what that is. It's the biggest hotel in San Antonio. When you exit the back door of the hotel, you're actually on the River Walk. The River Walk is our #1 tourist attraction. So it has all the restaurants, it has all the stuff that you need. The hotel, we're staying at the hotel. The conference room is in the hotel. The River Walk's at the hotel. The dinner we're going to take you guys to is really close to the hotel. RJ, I'm a big club guy, man. The club guy, we're going to have a good party afterwards, because the reason for the party is not just to go out there and drink. The reason for the party is, hey, get to know myself, get to know RJ if he goes on a personal level, right? Don't just see RJ on stage. Hey, man, I didn't even get a chance to talk to that guy. That's why we do the dinners. That's why we do the lunches. And that's why we go out to have a good time to build a personal relationship with these guys. So bigger, better, bolder. Sub 2's in there for sure. My attorney, Allison Tipton, who's really big in Texas, she will be there talking about legal side of sub 2. And then, of course, we're going to have a couple keynotes. My boy Carlos Reyes will be there. And, of course, Mr. Brant Lee, which a lot of people are excited to see him, and how that dude's such a good sales individual to make something happen.
Yeah, and first and foremost, I love the aspect of bringing the sub 2 into this, because here's the thing. It was a part of the first Wholesaling Live. There was multiple sub 2s that went down during the first one, but I think it's good that it's going to be a focus. Like, you're going to talk about it. You've done over 400. I mean, I think you have enough experience there to talk about it for sure. Listen, we love doing sub 2 as well. Cassie's first ever house that she lived in, we bought sub 2. The house that I currently live in, bought sub 2. A lot of our portfolio, man, I don't know what's happening with my camera. I'm still here. While
you do that, I'll tell you this: while you fix your camera, with the sub 2, like RJ said, man, we've done over 400, right? Currently own over 100. My personal house is a sub 2. My brother's house is a sub 2. My sister's house is a sub 2. Charles bought his house using a sub 2 creative financing. So that's definitely our forte. And then to have Allison Tipton go on stage and talk about the legal side, because everyone goes to the events, hey, sub 2, this, that, but no one ever brings an attorney on stage that, hey, let me show you the ins and outs. Who's worried about the due on sale clause? Let me tell you what that is, and let me tell you how to get around it. Let's talk about the insurance. Let's talk about the closing. Do we put it in the land trust? Do we put it in the LLC? Do we put in your personal name? What about the power of attorney? What about to make sure that the seller fully understands what a sub 2 is? And here's a copy of my closing disclosures, pre-closing packet, and at the closing table. So it's cool to have an attorney, and what better way to have than my personal attorney to show, hey, this is who I use, and here's why, and have her talk about the legal side of it.
Absolutely. So that's Wholesaling Live sub 2.0, right? Super excited about it. Let's talk about why. Obviously, you've already talked a little bit about this, but for the people that might not know you guys, maybe y'all are new to them, because we're putting this out there, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Mm-hmm. Why should they come to San Antonio to like HBHS? Mr. Hustle, Uncle Charles, why learn from you guys? What is it that you guys do special? I know what it is, but explain it to them.
So let's talk about this. Why come to Wholesaling Live? Why come to HBHS? Why do we support myself and my partner Charles and the HBHS crew? Well, one, there's a lot of wholesaling companies in the United States, right? This does not matter, right? Because RJ's been around for a while. People have been around. People come and go, right? If you notice, there's people, oh, yeah, they do used to wholesale. People come and go. Now, Charles and I, we've been doing this for 10 years, and we're still here. If I turn my camera around, you'll see. As a matter of fact, let me just do it so you can see. Shout out to my media guy there. What's up, man? But if you can see back there, we actually have people cold calling now, right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the floor now, acquisitions. What you don't see is you don't see our TC, you don't see our dispo team. At this event, we're not just saying, hey, this is how you wholesale, this is how you wholesale. No. They're wholesaling now. We're getting about 20, 25 contracts a month, right? Mr. Steve Francis just won King Dispo Closer. We're selling deals above market value. We're selling deals for JV individuals. We kind of have the wholesale game pretty pat down, if you will. We'll give a huge shout out to my guy, Frank Tovar, who's our COO, really good when it comes to operations, understanding the process and making sure it's a smooth process from the time we pull the lead to the time we fund, right? Now, let me show you guys how to do it. Now, if you guys didn't know, myself and Charles, over the last 10 years or so, we've closed over 1,000 wholesale deals. And people say, hey, man, well, let me show you the HUDs. I'm like, I'll bring the HUDs. If you want me to bring the HUDs, you can have Steve Trang. Steve Trang seen the HUDs. So we definitely closed a lot of deals. But the cool part is it's not just about me and Charles. It's about the community, right? It's about the community. It's about people like RJ. It's about people like Eric Klein, Munif, Aaron Bevins, and people who else also wholesaling now and say, hey, don't just take my word for it. Let me have RJ here and pick his brain and say, hey, how does he do it? Everyone who's in this event is a legit vetted individual using proven systems like InvestorLift, right? Like David O's with this transaction coordinating company to make things easier, to wholesale, to scale, to build a business. Whether you're in the business or working on the business, this event's for you. Whether you haven't closed a deal before, you've closed multiple deals, this event's for you because there's different ways, there's different techniques to learn, right? At the same time, for some people, creating a relationship is more important than let me hear how RJ talks on the phone. I'd rather go to dinner with RJ and get to know him on a personal level. So that's what we're going to provide. All that from start to finish. 2-day events, unless you're an elite. If you're an elite individual, it's a 3-day event. On that third day, which is that Sunday, we're going to mastermind and talk more about your business and more on a one-on-one level.
I mean, let's talk about that. You talk about building relationships at these events. I show up. You asked me wholesaling live, the first one.
Right.
I need you to show up, RJ. You're going to help people, talk to sellers. You're going to be running around. I mean, I was sweating. I'm running from the far side of the room, getting calm. Someone raises their hand. I'm going over. I'm hopping on the phone with sellers. Then you said, hey, RJ, on the second day, you're going to get up in front of 500 people and you're going to have 30 minutes. And we're going to give you 5 leads. Okay. So I get up there. I get the contract. You guys get me this shiny belt. But the relationship that I made at that event was with the lead provider for that competition, Lead Zolo. I met them there at your event. Funny story, I had previously met them at another event, but there was no proof, okay? All they did was they came up and they said, hey, Mr. King Closer, we provide YouTube leads. Would you like to try us out? And I'm not going to lie. I blew them off. I said, hey, guys, we're leaving. We've got a plane to catch. Like, it's nice to meet you. I'm sure we'll see you around, but we're good right now. We left. We go to Wholesaling Live. I get an actual lead from them. I call it, and I get a taste. Guess what I do? I'm on the phone with them the next week. Hey, how do I get more of those? Fast forward a couple of months. I go live for 50 days, 8 hours a day, calling what? Lead Zolo leads. This is how you take a relationship at an event like Wholesaling Live and you change your life. You guys changed my life by having me there at that event because now over 50% of our business comes from Lead Zolo.
That's crazy to hear, right? And exactly what I said. RJ, you're established, man. You're established. You close deals. Cassie close deals. You guys wholesale. I know what you guys do. You flip houses. But for you, someone like yourself to say those words of, hey, Lead Zolo, I learned about it at Wholesale Live, and now we're closing more deals and we're making more business. That's the prime example of what I just said earlier. Don't matter if you're brand new or if you're seasoned, there's something for everyone there. And, Lead Zolo, shout out to those guys. When I heard about it too, I was like, YouTube leads. I was like, nah, man, let's have a conference call. Let me have a conference call because we don't want to put anybody on stage. We actually talked to those guys weeks and weeks before we finally made the decision. All right, these guys are worthy enough to come to Wholesale Live because if it's with us, it has to be vetted, right? I don't want to just put anybody and everybody. We turn down sponsors and say, hey, unfortunately, we don't see the relationship here. I don't want to put someone on stage and give them the eyeballs and say, hey, this is what we use, and we don't use them. We use Lead Zolo, right?
But why did it change my business? Because I got to take action with it.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, if they were up on stage, they could have given the best fucking speech of all time.
Right.
And I would have not used them because I would have said, I'm already doing what I'm doing and it works. Why am I going to change to try something new? I literally preach, don't chase unicorns. They don't exist. If you're using something like, for example, you and I both use PropStream.
Yes,
you
sir.
and I both use Investor Lift.
Yep.
Lead Zolo coming in was a disruptor to what we were doing in lead generation. And so for guys like us, we've seen that come and go, and we say, no, we avoid that. We don't want to disrupt what our team's already used to, what our budget's already set around. But because I got to take action with it, that's what I love about it. All right, we got a question here. How can you pitch, or what would the conversation sound like with agents when wanting to wholesale properties on the MLS? So direct to agent. Wouldn't buyers shy away because it's listed on the MLS? So talk about that. Or direct to agent, is that something that you guys do there?
So we do, right? So we incorporated that this year, right? So wholesaling is cool, right? Wholesaling is cool, direct to seller. But this year, as of right now, KPIs, we're probably doing about 5 to 6 deals a month when it comes to direct to agent, direct to MLS. Now, some people feel weird about it. Some people say, hey, those aren't deals. I would say to each your own, and I would say, hey, we're closing those deals, right? Now, why are we closing MLS deals? One, the seller said, hey, I want to sell my house. It's already on MLS, so we already know the seller wants to sell. Two, the photo's already on the MLS. I don't need to go make an appointment, go walk the house or look at it. Based on value and based on experience, let me look at the photos. Cool, I have an idea what rehab's going to be. Three, a lot of realtors out there maybe are not too fond of, hey, let me list the ugly, dirty, stinky house. They'd rather do the more traditional house. Myself, I'm a broker as well, so I definitely understand both concepts. Most of my realtors, they want to sell the nice house that they could do an open house. We look for the houses on a daily basis, every single day, that just get listed, and call that realtor and say, hey, realtor, myself, or HPHS, we buy houses. But at the same time, we also have partners, and we are fully transparent, because when it comes to a realtor, it's not the same as a seller, right? A realtor, they're doing real estate every day, right? They're not going to want to do $10 earnest monies. They're not going to want to do 21-day option periods. They're not going to do, hey, there's no risk whatsoever. So you got to do your due diligence, and that's what we do here. Sellers want to sell. They're motivated. We make them a cash offer. Now, the car part is, if the house is listed for $200, and we get people who hit us up all the time on a JV line, say, hey, I got this house on the contract. What'd you get it for? I got it for $190. We do our first due diligence. It's listed for $200, man. So $190, we want to push down $195, and it's listed for $200. That's not going to catch attention. Now, is that the wrong answer? It could be the right deal. I mean, you can still wholesale it. Don't get me wrong, because every once in a while, the house is listed for $200 and we'll sell it for $215 above list price. But that doesn't happen often. Most people want to see something along the lines is, hey, the house is for sale for $200 and HPHS is selling for $180 because we got the contract for $170, whatever the case is. You'd be surprised on how many realtors say, hey, my clients just want to get rid of this quick. We offer $170 cash, close in 14 days or 20 days. They said yes, they'll take it, even though we just listed it for $215 2 days ago. So we got to find the right houses. You got to know how to talk to a realtor. It's a lot different than talking to a motivated seller. So understanding that, we're definitely going to talk about that. One of my main guys here, his name's Ray. He'll be at the event, and he leads the MLS team. So you guys can talk to him about that too.
Is it a different pitch? Like, for example, say you saw a deal on the MLS that you wanted to take down yourself. Are you handling that offer differently if you're going to wholesale that, or if you're going to take it down to flip it or own it as a rental? Are you like disclosing it to the realtor saying, hey, I'm going to wholesale this?
So our pitch is something along the lines is, hey, my name is Josh. I work with HPHS. My client, which is Mr. Mike and Mr. Charles, they buy houses all the time, and they're interested in this one. So we're going to go look at it, especially if it's in San Antonio. We're going to go look at it to put eyeballs on it. But I want to just let you know, hey, my clients, Mike and Charles, are interested in the property. So we get that warm phone call. We build rapport with the individual, which is the realtor. Hey, realtor, my name's Josh. I got buyers. They love the area. They flip houses. FYI, they have done hundreds and hundreds of flips. They like yours. I'm going to schedule an appointment. Now, we actually If it's an MLS deal, it's a little different than traditional wholesaling. We actually schedule an appointment because I want their email to go say, boom, Josh with Home Bottom Selling Realty schedule an appointment to see the house today at 2. They need to see that, hey, we want to go look at it. Don't be cold calling agents. Say, hey, I see your house. I went to the main street. I'm going to make you an offer. A realtor, a traditional realtor, well, have you seen it? No, I saw the photos. That's not going to work. Man.
Right.
They can work with the seller, but with the realtor, they're not going to want to have their client get into a contract with somebody that hasn't seen the house. So we actually schedule an appointment. We go out there. When we go out there, we call the realtor right then and there and say, hey, I'm here at the house now. I got the super box or I got the combo box. I'm in the house. Hey, since I'm here, I noticed XYZ. I noticed a crack on the window. I noticed a crack on the doors. It seems there's a slight foundation problems. Already setting the bar and say, hey, I know you're asking 200, but FY, AC's not working. The water heater's missing, and I see a couple cracks. It's a little worse than I thought. However, my clients are still interested. Let me go back to the offer. Let me go back to the office. We're going to submit you an offer. So we do that. Now it's in their head. Hey, I'm going to get an offer. I'm excited as a realtor. I'm getting an offer on a listing that just listed. We come back to the office and we say, hey, we call them up. We actually type up an offer because remember it's listed. We actually go on. We use our TREC contracts. Our TREC contracts are a little different than our traditional wholesaling contracts, just because again the realtors they're going to typically want 1% earnest money, all that good jazz into it, right? Then we submit an offer. Hey, based on the condition, FY, Mike and Charles are interested, but they do have partners, right? We're submitting offers every single day. They're handling, they've done hundreds of flips. Right now, they're doing about 6 or 7. So we're going to submit the offer. If they like it and you guys move forward with it, we'll purchase it. However, sometimes an offer we submitted 2 days ago, that one got submitted today, and now they're going to put their funds on that one. However, if that's the case, we also have partners and employees that associate with Mike and Charles that they'll be interested in it too. So it's kind of upfront, right? Hey, FY, we're the buyers, but for some crazy reason, we also have partners, and that's how we assign it. Yeah, so we're upfront. We disclose. We be transparent. Last thing you want to do is hold information back, especially if they're going to see it on InvestorLift or on Facebook for whatever reason. That's the hard part. Yeah, that's the hard part. So
exactly. Caleb asks, he's changed his business to only PPC marketing and a small amount of cold calling with a VA. Should he target nationwide and get InvestorLift to dispo his deals?
Yeah, so InvestorLift changed my life, right? It changed my life. I mean, we've had InvestorLift for, 2-3 years now. I remember when I first met Robert. Robert's a really good guy, Harvard grad. I think he told me I was at a mansion one time with this dude, and we were drinking and having cigars. I think he told me, I don't know if it's true or not, I think it was roommates with Zuckerberg, and obviously not the same exact roommate, but in the same dorms or something. So really smart dude, Harvard dude. InvestorLift is a really great tool. Now, with great tools come a great amount of money, right? So don't get it twisted. It does cost money. I don't want to talk about InvestorLift, but I know there's different tiers, and that top tier can be a pretty penny. But for me, I pay that top tier pretty penny because sometimes for us, that's just one wholesale deal that we get nationwide. Now, if you're going to start that process, I don't know if I would get InvestorLift right away. It'd be a good tool. Maybe start at the lower tier and go from there. But if you're gonna do deals nationwide, InvestorLift is the way to go. If you're gonna do deals locally, of course you're different. You're boots on the ground. You go to events. You talk. You go. Today's the first Tuesday in the month. So in Texas, the foreclosure happens, or there's buyers there. You can find buyers locally. But if I'm in San Antonio and I got to deal with California, InvestorLift is the key for me. Now, maybe JV with someone like myself, or maybe JV with RJ Bates. I say, hey, let me see how this InvestorLift works. I got my first deal in California. I live in Texas. RJ, can you help me dispo it? And then you see the power of InvestorLift, right? Use that capital on deals that you didn't have access to begin with, and then look at more into InvestorLift. But yeah, it's definitely the key for sure.
I'll add on a couple of things on this. First and foremost, Robert will say this before anybody will. InvestorLift is not going to dispo your deals for you.
Right.
Okay? You still have to work the system. It's just giving you the information on who the buyers are. And it's a super powerful tool. But you still have to dispo, okay? The other part of it is if you transition to PPC marketing nationwide, because I am nationwide, you're going to end up with stuff in the middle of nowhere that even with InvestorLift, there just are not buyers, okay?
Right.
So you have to, and if you come to Wholesaling Live 2.0, I will tell you, you will hear me say these words. Get good at saying no. you better get good at saying no, or you're going to waste a lot of time. And you're not going to be good at acquisitions, okay? Because think about it. The guy that gets the girls is the guy that acts like he doesn't want the girls, okay? The guy that's desperate and acts like he wants all the girls run away, all right? So if you're going to do PPC marketing nationwide, and you're going to go out and you're going to sign every contract that you can possibly sign, you're going to have like a 70% drop ratio, not a 70% close ratio.
For sure.
So you better get good at underwriting deals. So that's where I would say, like, I don't know, Caleb. I don't know your ability to comp. I don't know your ability to understand what is a good rental or a good seller finance or a good flip. If you feel confident in those things and you're okay with staring at $100 lead Zolo lead that just came in and saying no, then the answer is yes, you should do that. But if you're not okay with that, if that hurts your heart, then you should probably stay local.
Now, speaking of InvestLift, right? What better way than to have my guy Steve Francis? Now, people don't know this part yet, so I'm announcing it here on this titaniumvault podcast with you, Mr. RJ Bates. There's actually a co-host to the event, right? The host is Eric Klein. We're gonna announce this today or tomorrow. The co-host is actually me, Steve Francis. Now, Steve Francis took InvestLift and showed everyone live at the Closers Olympics that, hey, this is InvestLift. Let me show you what I do here at HPHS. I put this file the day of, right, that same morning. That was the rules. And of course, Winsley oversaw the InvestLift, so we couldn't post this before. The structure was, hey, at Monday at 9 a.m., post your deal on InvestLift, Monday, 9 a.m. And then Steve said, hey, I'll be the first one to go. I'm not scared. So at 1 o'clock, that's only 4 hours, he was the first one to start cold calling the leads. But it's all how you present it on InvestLift. That's one point. But what RJ said earlier, InvestLift won't dispo your deals. It will just publish your deals. The individual needs to dispo the deal. And Mr. Steve Francis won that competition. It was a pretty big deal. I think in 30 minutes, he made just shy of $100,000 live dispo. And you can't fake that, right?
Dude,
so
it was unbelievable.
He's going to be the co-host, and we're going to talk about InvestLift and how we use it here at HPHS, and it really made us more money by using that platform.
As the two-time winner of the Closers Olympics, I will say Steve's 45 minutes on the phone was the most impressive 45 minutes of any Closers Olympics. And I have no problem with people saying that because that's where checks are written. Acquiring deals is sexy, okay? It's kind of like NFL. Like, quarterback gets all the credit.
Right.
But defenses are the ones that win the championship, okay? You see that every single year over and over and over again. And dispo is where I think it was $92,250 or something like that in 45 minutes. Essentially, it was two deals, but one was a 3-pack, right?
Yep.
But
rural, by the way.
Yeah, and here's what I was going to say. Because I hosted that day, so I know a lot about it. But
yeah, I know.
So here's the thing. One was Richmond, Texas, okay? The other one was Beeville, Texas. Here's the thing. Part of the reason why you guys were able to do that is because those were Texas deals. Like, you and I know we get something in Texas, we're getting it, baby. If it's a deal,
we're getting
it sold. We're getting it in front of people. That's where InvestorLift is the magic sauce.
Right.
Because y'all sent that deal out in Richmond, Texas. I think he had 10 offers before he even picked up the phone.
Right.
That is the power of InvestorLift right there. Here's the thing. If you go get something in bumfuck nowhere, Tennessee, and you think you're going to get 10 offers on InvestorLift, you're not. Because there's just not 10 buyers in that city, you know?
Right.
So it's just about you have to still get deals in a good location. But I say it all the time. InvestorLift, most powerful tool in real estate investing and wholesaling, particularly right now where we sit. So let's talk about Wholesaling Live Sub 2.0. There's going to be, are we going to lock up deals and turn around and dispo them?
So the goal is to do so, right? So let me just share this little tip and technique. We talked to Winsley. Winsley wants to show the power of InvestLift. So ideally, that day we get our very first contract, our back team is going to work to put on InvestLift to try to work with Steve Francis. Say, hey, let me try to get it sold now. Of course, with that, we need the photos, right? We need the seller to cooperate, send that photos to the individual who gets the contract. But yes, the process will be done at Wholesale Live. We will show it on the Invest Lift. On Wednesday, we'll talk about it when he's on stage. The cool thing about Wednesday is he's not going to pitch Invest Lift, right? He's going to share values on how to dispo a deal, right? He's going to share value on how to do a dispo deal traditionally. And of course, he's going to talk about the power of Invest Lift and how much easier it is. So you still get value of dispo tips and tricks. But yeah, the goal is to actually put on Invest Lift, try to get it assigned before the end of day 2 or day 3, and share that with the entire audience and say, hey, this is the power. At Closers Olympics, he posted a deal at 9 a.m. and we sold around 1:30, sight unseen, because the numbers were there. The deal was there. The value was there. The photos were there. A video was even in the Google Drive link. So it's a lot easier for an investor to say, hey, I'll take that deal sight unseen because I know it's a hot deal and I'm not scared to pull the trigger.
Dude, I did a 4-hour live with Robert doing dispo of the deal that I locked up in the Closers Olympics with Robert.
Yep.
That was, I got 4 hours of a PhD education on dispositions from Robert in that. And the thing that I loved about it the most is he instantly went to the cheapest form of investor lift to dispo the deal. So for everyone that sits there and thinks like, oh man, RJ, Mike, I don't have 30, 40 grand to sign up for cartel mode of investor lift. Well, guess what? He dispoed that deal for me utilizing the $549 a month method. And he built out the entire Lubbock, Texas buyers list. I was watching him do it using God mode, and it's hilarious. I walked out of here and I looked at my team and I said, we always ignore God mode because it's the cheap way to do it. But the CEO, the guy who built the thing, just dispoed our deal using it. He said, no, this is where we need to go. This is where we're going to find our buyer. And he did it. So having someone like Robert there at the event with Steve, which, by the way, cannot give enough credit to the way Steve handled those conversations. That alone is worth buying the replay of the Closers Olympics, because if you've ever struggled on how to talk to buyers, I think we had another question about talking to buyers. Steve Francis is a genius when it comes to talking. And I'm sure how much of that comes from you and Charles and years of doing this. Have y'all like tweaked how he talked to those buyers? I'm sure that had to make you super proud, man.
The ones, I mean, Steve, I mean, his credit is due to Steve. Steve's been here for a few years. He's one of our main individuals, our core individuals. We have people like Steve. He's in the same similarity with Frank, with Miguel, with Ariel, with Josh. The core guys has been here for a couple of years, and Steve really took the InvestLift platform and really pushed it. But he also has a good background too, right? If you want to build a team, Steve's motivated. He's a certified hustler. A lot of people don't know this either too, but Steve used to work for Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? So getting those tip and trick techniques and applying it to wholesaling, applying to our dispo deals, that's what you want, right? So we're going to talk about scaling as well. We don't want just anyone and everyone on our team. We need someone who's motivated, who's hungry, who's adaptable. Say, hey, Mike, Charles, listen to my pitch. What do I got to do to change different? At the same time, too, as me being a buyer, I've done hundreds and hundreds of flips. So when I talk to a dispo individual, that doesn't work for me. So, hey, Steve, this guy just told me this, man, make sure you don't say that, Or, hey, Steve, this guy actually said this and actually motivated me to go look at that property that he had. So just tips and techniques, and it just takes time. It takes open mind, which we talked about earlier, and it takes someone to be motivated, right? To be energized, say, hey, I'll do what it takes. I have no ego. Just, let's mold together. Let's make it happen, and let's close deals. And that's the kind of people we're looking for. One, here at HPHS, but two, the person in the audience. Say, hey, I'm open-minded. I have no ego. I've closed a few deals because I'll get those guys. Hey, man, I've closed, a bunch of deals. I'm just going to go to support. Cool, man. We'll love for you to support. But I will also like for you to have an open mind and say, hey, let me learn something from RJ. Let me learn something from Gold Level Marketing or Lee Zolo or REI Call Center, right? We have different platforms in doing so. And I also get people say, hey, I'm just not a strong cold caller, man. I'm just not a strong cold caller, which is fine too. But let's try to work on it, right? It's open-minded. Listen to RJ, listen to everyone else. But if you're not a strong cold caller, you don't like cold calling for whatever reason, we got different avenues of approach too. I mean, we also have deal machines going to be there, right? So if you want to be more driving for dollars and say, hey, I'll get my acquisition, my lead generation this way, and then I'll pass it off. But if you want to grow a team, right? Hey, if someone's a one-person show and say, hey, I think I want to scale. Well, you need to know what a strong cold caller is. You need to know how RJ is confident. He's talking to sellers and how he's objection, handling rebuttals, and he's on the fly. He's not using a script. He knows what to say. You need to understand that, because if you're not the cold caller, but you want to scale, you need to know those attributes and traits. So when you hire your first individual or your first VA, you know what to look for. So it's not just for you. It's about growing as well.
I got to ask you a question, man, about the culture of y'all's company. I've been blessed to know you guys for several years now. I think we're going on year 5 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I found out in my interview with Uncle Charles, we basically started at the exact same time. And it's cool to see our journeys cross paths as many times as it has. But
right.
The culture that you guys have as a company, and there's a certain aspect of the culture that I want to ask you, because every time I'm around your team, not you and Charles, I'm talking about the guys that work for you when you're not around, and the character of your company, right? The character is how you act when no one's watching, right? So this is how are you acting? How are your employees acting when you're not around, right? They don't know. You don't know what they're doing when you're not around, right?
Right, for sure.
Your whole team has repeatedly shown me the most respect out of anybody in this industry. And I don't think that it's just me. I think they do this for many individuals that you and Charles respect in this industry. Every time I'm around anyone in your team, man, they come up, they shake my hand, they want to talk to me, they want to ask me questions, they want to take a picture. The respect that you guys show, the culture that you guys have created is unmatched in this industry. I don't care what anybody says. No one else has the culture that HBHS has. How has that happened? How has that come about? Is that something that you and Charles actively talk about? Like, hey, these are people that we respect in the industry, and when you're around them, like, you're going to show them respect? Because it feels that way, where it's like your children are walking up, man, and it's like they know, like, oh, that's RJ Bates.
For
hey,
sure.
Mr. Bates, how are you doing? It's on another level, and I just have to give you guys kudos. As a business owner, it's unbelievable. So I want to know, is that something that you and Charles have purposely built within your company?
I will say, man, that's a great question, man. That question tells me that, you're not just on this podcast talking about, hey, man, let's talk about deals and let's end this podcast. That question tells me, hey, I have a sincere, genuine input about HBHS, a sincere, genuine input about, my development and Charles' development to ask that question. So that alone, man, it speaks volumes in itself just by asking a simple question. 2, I would say attitude reflects leadership, right? Attitude reflects leadership. Do we tell these guys to do it? No, we don't tell them to do it. I think is these guys have all the attributes that we're looking for, them seeing the culture, them being part of the office. We have a saying here, man, that nobody works for us. They work with us, right? No one's our employees. No one's our contractor. Hey, you guys are doing acquisitions. We can't close deals if you don't get the contracts or dispositions or TC or Frank or the leader, senior acquisition, senior disposition. So no one works for us. They all work with us. That's the first thing. And 2, I just think we have Frank Tovar, who finds the right individuals with the right character abilities and right character traits that in nature and in general, that's who they are individually, right? No one's telling them, hey, man, go talk to RJ and go tell them what's up. That's just, they're motivated themselves. They see you cold calling. We talked about you guys all the time. We talk about all the individuals in this community. When the Closers Olympics was up, we had it on the screen. The entire audience, the entire office is watching. Everyone here works on their craft. Everyone here is assigned a desk, and that desk is their business. They're working in the business, but we call it as an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur system. HBHS is an entrepreneur system. These guys are in it, so they're entrepreneur in the entrepreneur system, meaning that desk is their business. That cell phone is their business. That dialer is their business. If they're not working on their business, they're not getting paid. Here, I'm going to go to the logistical side of it. we're commission based only, right? And crazy part is people ask, man, how do you hold so many people for so many years based on commissions? Is one, we pour value into it, right? We talk about leads, we talk about data, we show full transparency, we show RJ Bates videos. Hey man, look how he did this call. You guys adapt and move forward with it. We talk about wins. We go on the office hours with the mess lift. We perfect and work on our craft, and that's just who we are. Now, for the hospitality that they show, again, attitude reflects leadership, and they just sincerely themselves. That's just their personal traits, and it works for them. It works for us, and I'm glad to have such an awesome team, and for doing this for 10 years and having people that's been here for years, like Frank's been here for about 4 or 5 years, Miguel's been here about 4 or 5 years, Josh, I want to say 2, 3, Ariel 2, 3, Steve 2, 3. I just had a buddy who was one of my dispo guys. His name's Teddy. He just left to go do a different venture after 5 years, so it's kudos for him. And that's just the culture we have, man. We pour into you guys a lot. But at the same time, there's 2 different individuals here, right? We got Charles, and if you guys don't know, he's my father-in-law, right? The dude has 20 years on me, right? So his mind and his vision of his old school thinking and traditional is one way versus mine. I'm a little more, that's what I'm looking for, a little more flair, if you will. All right, tattoos, the gold chain, the Lambo, the nightclubs, the restaurants. So they see on the young side, man, that Mike's doing this, and Mike has the Rollie, and Mike has a Lambo. At the same time, a father figure, maybe, if you will, to some individuals. Charles, who's, again, he has 20 years on me, so different aspects of you. He's not the club guy, he's not the Lambo guy. So you get best of both worlds here, and I think it's just, the yin and yang just works here.
I love it, man. And I will say this. I know I've met the majority of your team over the past 5 years, just at different events. We're always down in San Antonio. San Antonio's always got an event, so we're always down there meeting you guys. But I specifically remember meeting Steve Francis at the event in Dallas. You guys came up here, you brought Steve, and this is how you know that you've got the right person on your team. When someone like me, not talking to you and Charles, meets Steve, and here's what I remember about it. Steve wanted to ask me very specific questions about what I was doing here at Titanium, pertaining to what his new role was for HBHS at the time. He was asking me questions, but he respected my time. He asked the 2 or 3 questions he had, shook my hand, and then said, how can I add value to you? And that was my initial meeting with Steve. And again, that's one of many interactions that I've had with the HBHS team. But I've looked at it, and I've had the blessing, the opportunity to travel around this country going to different events. No one has the culture that HBHS has. That's why I've repeatedly told you and Charles, I will always support you guys. Anything that you ever need from me, I'll be there with open and willing arms. The first wholesaling live, you said, hey, RJ, stand over off to the side, bro, and help people get on the phones, right? And you helped change my business. Why was I there? Because I never know what's going to happen when I'm around you guys and how it will impact my business and my life. But I know it'll always be positive. That's why I endorse you guys. That's why I endorse HBHS. If you don't have a ticket to Wholesaling Live, get it, because it's going to be the best event this year. I hands down guarantee it. I think we did over $1 million, right? It's only going to be better because there's going to be more people and we're more prepared this time. So please get your ticket. I mean, dude, I'm not even going to go through it, but it's like as cheap as it can possibly get. I mean, we're talking about like $247 for general admission, okay?
Right.
$897 for VIP. It's not even $1,000. Like, holy shit, we spent $1,000 on skip tracing like on a regular basis. Like, just buy your ticket, wholesalinglive.io. Last question before we get off here. Caleb asked, what CRM do you guys use? I'm curious, what do y'all use?
So here we actually use Podio, right? We got our Podio down tight because if you guys aren't familiar with Podio, it's so many different platforms from when that lead first gets ordered to acquisitions to TC to dispositions, and just a nice flow I will be honest with you guys. Frank, who's my CEO, handles all the operations. Really dialed and tuned into the whole Podio to make sure it's an awesome flow. We're all communicating. We all know what's going on. We have all the documents per file, per individuals, per agent to include KPIs. But yeah, that's a good question for Frank. The ins and outs of Podio, I just, I do my deals and Frank handles the operations side of it. But yeah, simple answer, we use Podio. Who do you use?
We've got a free version with the paid version of Trello, where we kind of just have our own workflows built in and through Zapier. So anything like Lead Zolo automatically zaps in, speed of lead, everything like that. So
very similar to Podio. So
we just built it out. We chose Trello because we didn't know what Podio was back when we started in 2013. So it was just like,
don't mess it up, right? But if you guys were just starting, look into Trello, look into Podio. But the key with Podio is it's as fine-tuned as you want it to be.
Yeah.
It's as smooth as you want it to be. It's as KPI as you want it to be. It's as detailed as you want it to be. But and everyone needs to really work on updating the file. So if someone on acquisitions puts something on this side, this position can see it, the TC can see it, overall view can put it together. And every once in a while, I don't know if you remember Plecto, but Plecto kind of puts it together on a Plecto board to kind of see how's the health of the business. And that's kind of what I target on now. And after wholesaling for all these years and done all these deals, I'm more focused on what Frank's focused on. And Frank is focused on, hey, this month we made 6 figures, but this is how much it costs us to make that 6 figure. This is how much it costs us per deal. Right now, I need to understand, hey, for every $25,000 I make, it costs me $6,000. How do I make that higher and how to make that lower? How do I figure out the KPIs and really work on the health of the business to make it more fine-tuned? So that's where I'm at now with this deal, and it helps with me have systems and data like Podio.
Hey man, the only thing that I ask before you roll out the dates for Wholesaling Live 3.0 is just remember that the last week in August and the first week in September is when all of our kids go back to school, and they come back and they try to kill us with the illness. I don't know if you guys can tell or not with both of our voices, but both of our children went back to school and literally have tried to kill us. We're both we're struggling over here. Just like my camera is fucking struggling. I don't know what's going on. But I had battled through this interview, Mike. I appreciate it. I had to mute myself probably as many times as my camera stopped working. I don't know what's going on. Man, final words from you about Wholesaling Live. While
you work on that, man. Final words for me is one. It's awesome. I'm pouring a lot into it. Charles pouring a lot into it. The whole team's pouring a lot into it, and it's really for the people, right? There's really for the people. For those guys show up, say, hey, I'm scared to make my first phone call, or I want to work on my craft. It's for the people. This whole event was designed as, hey, how do I become a better wholesaler, a better individual? And this is how. How do I take tips and tricks from, Allison Tipton, RJ Bates, Eric Klein, Robert Winsley using InvestLift? Let me get motivated by listening to Carlos Reyes and Bradley and see how their journey was. And, Bradley being a good sales guy and individually. And let me talk to Gold Level, right? Let me talk to PropStream and actually meet this guy, Burton, right? Burton's the brainstorms behind it. Let me talk to Lead Zolo because RJ said, hey, it changed his career with wholesaling. And YouTube leads, I never heard of that, man. YouTube, I just watch podcasts and music videos. How do I get leads from YouTube? So talk to Lead Zolo. We're going to have some new guys that come on stage with REI Call Center and say, hey, how do I make my business easier, right? That's REI Call Center. Of course, my lawyer, Allison Tipton with Tipton Law Firms, will talk about the sub-twos. All the battles that I've handled with when it comes to sub-twos, like bankruptcies, second loans, disclosures, the due on sale. It's happened to me in the last 10 years. It's happened to me a couple times with the due on sale. But I want you to hear from my attorney. We're all going to have David O's, right? Hey, I got, 10, 12 contracts a month. Do you really want to be spending time clearing title and going back and forth as a transaction coordinator? Or do I just make my business simpler and use David O's with easy REI closings, right? Driving for dollars, I heard about it. Some people say that you get better deals driving for dollars because those deals you won't find on a list, right? You just got to find the right house when you're driving for dollars. The taxes are paid, the seller cuts the grass, but at the time when you drove by, the seller may have not been there for a couple of weeks, so the grass is a little high, and that looks like a vacant house. There's no board on the windows. That's a good lead that you won't find on a traditional list, right? So Deal Machine will be there. to be, how can I put this in today's modern world? Most people, most sellers, they kind of want to look for credibility, right? And if you're a wholesaler and someone says, hey, do you have a website so I can look at you and say, no, I don't have a website. You can follow me on Instagram. That's not going to work, right? So we're going to have a carrot there to help you with your website. Say, hey, show them how your business is done and show them what you do. Content, content is very important. RJ, you got to where you're at due to content. I got to where I'm at due to content. A lot of people who are on stage got to where they're at due to content. And we're going to have Infinite Productions there talking about, hey, how important content is for you guys. I myself take a lot of sub-2 deals and sell them owner financing. I have Scott Horn, who's also an attorney who also does sub-2 deals. He's going to talk about owner financing, and you can talk to him and say, hey, how does the owner financing work? Mike said something about a sub-2 and then he sold on a wrap. How do I service it? How do I make sure I get the right buyer for it? We're going to have Voyage Insurance there. Voyage is my personal insurance company that I use for my vehicles, the Lambos and all the nice cars, but also I use it for my sub-2 deals. A lot of insurance companies don't know how to insure a sub-2 deal properly. Now, when I say properly, this is my experience. You may listen to someone else and they may tell you to do a whole different thing, but my experience the last 10 years, over 400 sub-2s, this is how you should do an insurance policy, and I'll have her explain why. We're going to have HiveMind there. HiveMind, you guys know what HiveMind is. You can hive with HiveMind. They also have a CRM too. And then last but not least, we're going to have Sherry the barber there. Sherry's actually my barber. She used to wholesale back in the day. She wholesales here and there, but she's just a proud supporter and says, hey, Mike, I see your vision and I just want to be part of the team. So she came up to be a sponsor. And I mean, in real estate, has no product to push, has no services to push. All she's there to sponsor and talk to individuals and, hey, this is how, as a barber, I've scaled my barber business and I still wholesale on the side. So for her, it's more of a side hustle because she has a different career. So that's maybe someone out there, hey, I already have a career, but I want to try maybe do a side hustle. Someone like Sherry the barber, I just want to give her a shout out. But other than that, it's going to be a big event. I take pride in this. My heart's into this. Bigger, better, bolder, San Antonio Marriott River Center, biggest hotel in San Antonio. Huge ballroom, way bigger than the last one last year. Audio, video is going to be there. Bradley's going to be there. First night, if you're an elite individual, I'm going to take you guys to dinner. We're going to cover the bill for you guys. It's the Tower of America. What that is, we go up so many flights of on the elevator, right? Huge tower, kind of like the Stratosphere in Vegas, big tower, or the one in Seattle. Yeah. When we go all the way up there, you can see the entire city. And when we get up to the tower, it's actually a revolving restaurant. And we're going to go up there. We're going to have dinner with all the speakers, sponsors, all the elite individuals. I want to spend more time with you guys and answer your questions that you may have. The second day, VIPs and elites, lunch is provided Friday and Saturday. So we'll have lunch at the hotel. On Saturday night, we're going to take all the VIPs, all the elites, all the speakers, all the sponsors. And we're going to take them to a real popular restaurant in downtown on the Riverwalk so you can enjoy and understand the festivities of the culture of San Antonio. Because one, yeah, you come here to learn, but two, I want you guys to have fun, right? I want you to be here as a tourist. That's why you chose the Riverwalk. So I'm going to take you to a nice restaurant there. And then afterwards, if you guys want to party, by all means, come party with myself at a huge, nice, one of the best nightclubs in town, very luxurious nightclub, taken care of. People's like, hey, Mike, I'm not trying to spend money on bottles. I got you guys. Just show up. Let's have a good time. Let's have fun together. We'll party on Saturday. On Sunday, it's going to be a late start because of that Saturday for the elite individuals, one-on-one with that mastermind. I want to understand you. I want to understand your business. I want to help you take some tips and techniques to make you grow as an individual. Those are for my elite individuals on Sunday. And for whoever wants to stick around Sunday night, I'm going to do an event at another nightclub where I'm bringing an individual by the name of Soldier Boy to San Antonio. We're going to have a good time Sunday night for anyone who wants to stay that late Sunday night. But other than that, man, RJ, that's Wholesale Live, man. I appreciate people like yourself. I appreciate people like Cassie, who's also going to be speaking at Wholesale Live and say, hey, as a female, I get it. It's a male-dominant industry. Females stand up, and Cassie will be there. And it's me personally. I think when I think of female, I think of wholesaling. Cassie's pretty much one of the first individuals I think of. So we're going to do this. So I definitely appreciate Cassie being there and having yourself there. Equity Cash Offer, my boy Donovan's going to be there. So a lot of good people are going to be there, man, who's really successful in wholesaling, like Carlos Reyes, right? We all know who he is and how he took all into a whole nother level. But yeah, sleep. Yeah. I don't sleep. You know why I don't sleep? I don't sleep, man, because Red Bull's a sponsor at Wholesale Live, man. So shout out to Red Bull into Wholesale Live. They're going to be there handing out Red Bulls, man. I drink See, I got one here. So
There
I'm
you go.
using Red Bull. Red Bull will be at Wholesaling Live, handing out Red Bulls while we're cold calling. We need the energy up. We need the motivation up. So shout out to Red Bull for being at the event, man.
All right, I got 2 stories for you.
Yes,
Then
sir.
we're gonna wrap up. Okay.
Okay.
Story number 1. There was a period of time in my life where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do to make money. I was in my early 20s, right?
Okay.
And I applied to drive one of the Red Bull cars. I
Uh-huh.
wanted nothing more than the car with the big Red Bull can
Uh-huh.
on the back. I never heard back from Red Bull. So I'm going to ask them why they never responded to my application on that.
Just funny speaking, that car should be there, right? So they should
I
have
love
that
it.
car with the Red Bull. I'll probably park it next to my Lambo. That'd be pretty cool. Right in the front entrance. And they're gonna be walking around with the Red Bull backpacks, and in that they'll have the Red Bulls, man. And we got some surprises that we're not gonna share with nobody. But you won't catch that surprise unless you're there.
But think
so
about
yeah.
this, Mike.
What's that?
I said, think about this for a second.
Okay.
There was a period in my life
Uh-huh.
where I wanted nothing more than to drive the Red Bull
Car.
And because of wholesaling, I'm now speaking at an event that Red Bull is sponsoring. I mean, that's cool.
Well,
Like,
second,
that's a moment, bro.
yeah.
Second thing, okay? Another moment for me. Again, you guys make moments for me. You don't even know this, okay? Junior year of high school, our
Okay.
junior trip, we went to San Antonio.
Uh-huh.
We stayed at the hotel
Hmm.
that where this event's at. And I remember being on the Riverwalk and looking up and just thinking, like, this is a cool thing, man. Like, this is like a moment, right? I'm no parents, just a couple of teachers. I'm here with my girlfriend and my buddies, and like I felt like an adult for the first time. And when I found out that's the place where we're at, I was like, what a cool thing, man. What a
Cool.
circle of life right there. It's going to be about 20 years after that moment for me. So I'm excited, dude. I can't wait to get there. You guys have given me 30 minutes where I get to share about my closing techniques and styles. Try to make that where everybody can immediately implement that with getting on the phones. And then I'll be there the entire time to help people close deals. And then, of course, I got to add another belt. I mean,
how many more belts you got to win, man, to say, hey, I retired. I don't even need to do this anymore. When does that happen?
it's like Tom Brady said, man. You know which belt's my favorite?
All of them?
The next one.
Oh.
The next one. I'm coming with 3. They promised me the Closers Olympics belt will be there. So if you're going to be at the event, I'm going to be wearing all 3 of them. You got to figure out how a man wears 3 belts.
You wear one and have one on each shoulder?
Maybe. I don't know. My son said wrap one around my head.
Necklace?
Yeah. There you go. All right, buddy. I appreciate you. Hey, let's
let me do this real quick if you don't mind, man. So one, RJ, I really want to say, man, I definitely appreciate your time. I appreciate you as an individual. You know, I'm excited, I'm glad and honored to have you at the event at Wholesale Live to one, share tips and tricks and techniques on how to actually cold call. And it's not just, hey, man, I think it works. No, it works. Look at your career, look at your impressiveness, look how many cold calls you've done, and what better way from people in the audience to learn from you. So RJ, from one certified hustler to another, I definitely appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that so much. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to turn up the hustle.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We're September 15th, 16th, all right? And the 17th if you're an elite
Yep.
VIP. So
10 days away.
Right, see y'all there. Mike, see you soon, man.
Yes, sir.